Good morning and welcome to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Now for the guy who's willing to host birthday parties and bar mitzvahs, if the money's right. Here's your host.
Yeah, not anymore. Not unless it's for the real big money, dude. I did some of that shit back in the day. That's horrible. It's absolutely awful.
If the money was right.
Yeah, if the money
was.
Yeah, sure. If you're like part of the Hollywood elite or something like that, you could have me out to your birthday or your bat mitzvah or your Christmas or your whatever, man. I'll do a wedding if that's what it really takes. I can figure that out. It's just gonna have to be for, like you said, absolutely and 100% the right price. If it's not for the right price, then just forget about it.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah. Well, some people do it for a couple of $100 and it feels like a big deal at the time. And then you realize you just spent 12 and a half hours and you got yelled at by some lady who just can't stand to hear anything other than the chicken dance for, I don't know, the 500th time that evening. And then the off-color request for R. Kelly and Michael Jackson come into play. And, it just, what do you do? It's a catalog that you've got to just kind of get rid of. Wedding stuff is awful. I don't know that people that get married like it.
Yeah. Should be taps they play, right? Is that what they
should be
playing?
They should be playing fucking pull tabs is what they should be playing.
Oh, pull tabs.
There you go. That's something. All right, guys and gals, we got a fun show coming up here this morning on the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live coast to coast from the Trauma Center studios, powered by the Recovery Room. 8:30 this morning, Chad, a friend of the region, because he's a graduate of UWL, was a local product, worked here locally in the market of radio, went up to Tomahawk, the northern portion of the state of Wisconsin, and now is down in Milwaukee working with iHeartRadio. It's my friend, it's your friend, it's everybody's friend, Hunter Baumgardt. He'll be jumping aboard the Sports Carnival coming up this morning at 8:30. You can follow Hunter on social media, Hunter B on air. So we're very excited about that. The Milwaukee Bucks, Chad, boy, they got lucky last night. And they really eked it out. But we'll talk about what Giannis did, which was once again pretty historic. Giannis finds himself in rare company each and every night. The University of Wisconsin lacrosse's Eagles basketball team, Chad, may not ever want to come back on this program again.
They lose again?
They lost big. 64-41 last night to Platteville.
Man, the kiss of death we are.
Was not their night. I personally don't take, great pride in bringing on Coach Kent Dernbach and then seeing the team fall flat. I don't want to take the blame for it, but I surely don't take pride in the fact that he comes on and, as opposed to the perceived Sports Carnival boost, you end up getting like the boot, the Sports Carnival boot, the swift kick in the ass.
What was the score again?
64-41.
Oh, ouch.
It wasn't great. Wasn't great last night. It is what it is. Sometimes you got to take your lumps, and the Eagles team's still very good. By the way, Jim, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. In many cases, I think that Jimmy was onto something.
Marriage is for suckers?
No.
That's what Jim said.
That's what Jim said.
Yeah.
Until he gets married to Abby. And then in that case, it'll be for all the right reasons. Love forever.
Well, that's different. As everybody in this situation, well, it's different.
Well, let's just face facts. 43% of people in the world who stay married, they'll tell you it's different.
I think it's awesome. Anybody that can get married and stay married, congratulations. I think it's remarkable, especially in today's day and age when you've got so many distractions and so many temptations, and nobody really follows through with anything anymore. Everything's disposable, right? We live a disposable life. Everything in your life is disposable. Nothing lasts for, it used to be, a refrigerator would last you 30, 40 years. Now it only lasts you 5-10 years, and then you got to get a new one. And that, of course, that's by design. And we all know that because they want to keep coming back in the store and buying, right?
Yes.
So, relationships, unfortunately, have turned into the same kind of situation, which is sad. Nobody works through the hard times anymore. They're just like, it's too tough. I'm done.
Yeah, I think, partly I think about the ways in which we interact with even our audience now, right? So we've got Facebook, 2 different places. We've got a Facebook group page, which just continues to grow daily. And I appreciate you guys so much, Chad. We're almost at 300 members now as I check in. So we're really clicking up there. But you're looking at Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitch and Twitter and all these social media platforms. And then you can hear the podcast, basically in 800,000 spots later in the day. There are so many options now. And I think the same is true for dating now. That's something that I never engaged with. And we've known each other a long time now. And I think that we both come from, first of all, a generation and a day and age in which, that wasn't a thing. We just didn't have that, right? Like in high school for us, you sat by the phone if you were trying to call somebody, your friend or whoever,
right?
And you might have had to wait it out. because mom's already on the line. And she's like, nope, not happening. Okay. So now we've got these multitudes of ways in which to interact with people. And I do think that with the dating stuff, you go online and you just start swiping up. Like when I look at our TikTok videos or I'm going through social media, if it's that easy, right? Like if it is that easy, where's the impetus to really put in the hard work and the try? And I don't think that's just a relationship with, men and women or men and men or whatever that is, but every kind of relationship, our work relationships, our familial relationships, our relationships with our pets. I mean, our relationship with the world at large becomes much more disposable.
Our relationship with our pets?
Maybe not the pets. As we have seen, and we have seen this firsthand, people go to prison for mistreating pets. People just get like reality shows for killing people in the streets. So, there is a little bit of a difference with pets, but you get what I'm saying. Disposability.
Yeah, the dehumanization project has worked to a T. They've done a great job of it. Yeah, it's people will lose their heads if they see a stray cat and no one's taking care of it. But they'll run over 3 homeless dudes and not think twice about it.
That's right.
It's
really
interesting.
It's quite an odd condition, I must say. And for what that's worth, quite an odd start to this morning's Sports Carnival. But hey, listen, we just like to roll. We like to flow. I do want to say that.
Look at Morning Woods bringing up pork chop.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about surfing the dark web here. Okay, like there's got to be a line. There's got to be a line in the sand. Okay,
I even know who pork chop is now. I'm on the inside, brother. I know who that is. I've never seen the guy.
Pork chop's kind of like Sarah Palin's Russia. You could probably see it from Washington. He's that big.
Seriously, he's like 400 plus. Are we looking at
grotesque looking human? There is nothing.
600-pound life. Is that what is he on that show?
It would be my 600-pound half life, because I'm not sure the thing blinks open all the time. Like I'm not even sure that it's a cognizant thing. All right. This is just
pork
awesome.
chop.
I know. Poor pork chop. Fuck pork chop. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come right back in about 60 seconds. We'll talk some Bucks hoops. And this morning's poll question I've got for you guys and gals at the Sports Carney on our Twitter feed, our Facebook group page as well, asks you this: if the Bills can actually muster enough to get back on the field, because this is still very much TBD, and play the Patriots on Sunday, do you think they can cover that really robust 7.5 point spread? So stay tuned. We'll come back. We'll talk to Hunter at 8:30. Got a lot to do. What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
Coming to Fox this fall, it's the Bench Brothers.
Talking about that street clothes and Westbrook.
They're getting down on the bench. The Bench Brothers, brought to you by Big Dick's Hoagie Heaven. Remember, ladies, the first 6 inches is free. And by Don Francisco's. At Don Francisco's, if you're up all night, so are we.
Street clothes and Westbrook.
They're getting down on the bench.
Broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. This is the Sports Carnival. Just remember, we know things and you're wrong. Here's your host, Dave Carney.
I don't know if I know as many things as you, Chad. Again, I'm stretching the limits of my general education diploma as far as it can go. But you're right. When we say something, we're right and you're wrong. I used to have this thing on my Twitter feed. It was my opinions are mine and better than yours. I decided to change that for better searchability, but I thought it was about what I was, I was telling people what I was about at the time. I've changed now. I've grown.
Well, it's good.
I think so too. I commented back to Rick Hamilton about this, who's watching with us here on our Facebook group page. What up, Rick? He says 30 points, 21 boards, 10 assists, triple double. Wait, no, there's more. 12 turnovers, quadruple double for Giannis. And I commented back to Rick, Chad, that game last night was wild, man. Toronto was down by 18 points with 2 minutes left to go in the game. Bucks were up 90 to 62 or some shit. And Toronto just came roaring back and sends the game into overtime. It was really quite a spectacle and a scene. And I said to Rick, Giannis's 12 turnovers, in particular one at the end of the game, That almost cost the Bucks the basketball game. Now, fortunately, Milwaukee pulls it out, and Grayson Allen, who sack tagged Gary Trent at the end of regulation, given Gary Trent, who is a former Blazer, I want to say, an extra shot from the line, ended up bailing the Bucks out and hit a crucial three-pointer, assisted beautifully by Giannis, as a matter of fact. But this Bucks team, they narrowly pull it out, 104-101. Good on them, though. This is something I really like to see, Chad. When we talk about the Bucks team who had that 9-game winning streak earlier this season, and some have thought, even Rick Hamilton in particular, they've kind of returned to the pack, if you will. The Bucks are 4-0 in the second game of back-to-backs. That's important because that's when you kind of see the wheels falling off of teams, right? You go on to a back-to-back and you can start to see, some fatigue, some wear and tear, guys maybe not just having it as much as they did the night before, especially if there is travel from Milwaukee to Toronto, which isn't inordinately far, but you're still taking a trip out of the country. So I really liked that. And some of the other Bucks, really stepped up last night. I still think that Chris Middleton, his absence is a little bit of a concern for this Bucks team because he's in, he's out. No Drew Holiday last night, which, makes a big difference for this Bucks team. But Pat Connaughton had 15 points for Milwaukee, 6 rebounds. Brook Lopez had 19 rebounds. Chad, I can't remember the last time I saw a stat line with Brook Lopez having 19 rebounds. I really can't, because that's been really one of my only knocks against Brook Lopez in his time in Milwaukee, is that the dude is just too big to not get more than 6.5 rebounds, right? Charles Barkley used to say, you know what you call a 6'8" power forward that gets 6 rebounds? And they said, what, Chuck? A small forward. And I was like, exactly, Chuck. So when Brook gets 19 boards, controls the paint, that's really important. But this Bucks team, boy, they got it by the skin of their teeth up there in Toronto last night. Fun game to watch.
Yeah, and that last assist by Giannis was kind of a bailout assist, but he was on the money because he was falling out of bounds. He was in between 4 dudes, and that's the thing. He draws all of that attention, and then it leaves guys like Grayson Allen wide open. And credit to Grayson for hitting that shot. Obviously, he kind of made up for that flagrant foul and the that whole thing.
Sack taggery.
Yeah, that wasn't great, but they pulled it out. I definitely can tell the difference when Drew Holiday's not on the floor. I think they're kind of used to not having Chris Middleton out there, and he's always a bonus when he's out there, and they're a better team, no doubt about it. But when Drew Holiday is not running the floor, you can definitely tell the way this team plays. And in the turnovers on Giannis, I think sometimes maybe when Drew's not out there, he tries to do too much. Maybe
I agree.
Has a little bit to do with that. But he had another monster game. So even when he's bad, he's good, right? Yeah, you could say, quadruple double with the 12 turnovers, but he still had a monster game. 21 rebounds, 30 points, 10 assists, and the key assist to win the game. I don't know. This is a great team. Even when they don't have all of the pieces, they still manage to beat really good teams. And give some credit to Toronto. They played their ass off last night. That was a good game by them as well.
Well, they had a furious late rally because watching the game, they looked really listless and lifeless. They weren't able to score points, right? They were in the 60s final 2 minutes of the game. But the way the Bucks gave them the final 2 minutes of the game, that's the one thing where I think a point guard, a guy like Drew Holiday, a straw that stirs the drink a little bit, because Giannis handles the rock, and we know that. He takes control of the offense a lot. But that's when a point guard, and what we saw John Morant do last night, if you watch that Memphis game or anything, playing a little trickery and stuff, controls the game, right? Like really kind of controls the game. The USA men's team would not have won Olympic gold if it weren't for Drew Holiday. Chris Middleton played a decent role on that team too, but that was Drew Holiday that really helped anchor the defense against the international competition, which, as we talked about yesterday, the United States versus the world keeps getting better and better and better by the year. So this is no more a cupcake like it was in 1992. Drew Holiday was key. And I think that those final 2 minutes, that shows me that perhaps, and again, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, perhaps Milwaukee at some point makes some sort of a move for something as far as another player, another guard, another shot creator, another ball handler, because once you start to get out of Drew Holiday and Pat Connaughton to a degree, who do you have? Javon Carter?
Yeah.
Carter was okay last night, right?
He's serviceable. Yeah.
No, he was terrible. He had 0 points. And what am I talking about? But Bobby Portis isn't going to handle the rock for you, right? Marshawn Beauchamp, who had a really nice appearance in 22 minutes, isn't quite there yet. I don't know what the Bucks are going to, particularly do if they want to make a move, but there are a couple of guys that aren't getting minutes that may have value on other teams. Serge Ibaka's not getting any minutes for this Bucks team, and it doesn't look like with Bobby Portis and Lopez playing the way that he is, that there's going to be a real call for him. And then Wes Matthews is really only on the court spot duty, like a little bit here, a little bit there. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know that Milwaukee's in the running for anybody. I don't know who's available. But before the trade deadline approaches, there will become names, and we'll start to talk about those guys as they bubble up and surface. We'll see what they do, man.
Yeah, Rob Dog saying, can I get paid what Middleton does? Take 4 weeks off for the sore knee. Yeah, I think Middleton might make the Bench Brothers here at some point. He might be part of the street clothes gang.
Yeah. And Rob, you can get paid that. If what you do is as rare as what Chris Middleton does, you absolutely can get that. Because, see, Chris Middleton's amongst, I want to say, 900 active basketball players, perhaps in the NBA at all. And that'll include the G League. So, yeah, if you can do that, be one of the 900 people of the world of 8 billion, absolutely. The world is your oyster. Yeah, I think sometimes we forget that when we're like, can I get paid what they do? Sure. If you're one of the most special specimens of physical ability and unique talent in the world, absolutely you can get paid. No problem.
I did see this last night, Morningwood. Interesting that Morningwood's bringing up some guy getting hit in the junk. But yeah, I think Grayson Allen did hit that guy. I don't know if he did it on purpose, but it looked like
Gary Trent. Looked like he went to hit his testicles.
He did. It looked like and I don't know if that's just because of Grayson Allen's reputation that you automatically think that, or if that was legit. He actually was going for his balls, but it sure looked like it in the replay.
Shit, let me ask you this question. A little pop-up poll here from Morningwood. If you heard on SportsCenter the lead was, and he got hit in the balls in a basketball game, would you automatically think that it was Grayson Allen or somebody else? Grayson Allen or the field?
I would say Grayson Allen. I would go with Grayson Allen. Yeah.
Grayson speaking of Bench Brothers, the Middleton situation, something that we're obviously on top of here as Milwaukee fans. The Bench Brothers are a real thing for the Lakers, right? So AD and LeBron, they were out last night, but Russell Westbrook and Dennis Schroeder actually got a Lakers win over the Heat. That was pretty impressive last night. The NBA had some interesting games going last night.
I did not see that. I did watch the Milwaukee game, and I enjoyed the outcome on that, but I did not pay attention to the Lakers actually winning.
Listen, rarefied air here, 17-21. Cleveland got a win over the Suns, 90-88. Donovan Mitchell nearly scored 90 points the other night. The Sixers got a big win in overtime. No Joel Embiid, 129-126 over the Pacers. Another game that I thought was really interesting last night was the Detroit Golden State game. So Golden State, man, they got a huge clutch three from Klay Thompson at the end of regulation, goes into overtime. Gary Trent Jr. with 1 second left on an out-of-bounds curl play, Gary Trent Jr. I talked about him with the Raptors. Sadiq Bey on this curl out-of-bounds play hits a three-pointer, tenths of seconds going down, boom, Pistons win. Only their 11th win of the season, but it looked like one of these signature games for Klay Thompson again, and just like, that guy's got the perfect shooting form. When he rolls off of screens and he gets an open look, especially a catch and shoot, he's not quite as good off the dribble as he is catch and shoot, but he can still do it off the dribble. It is the perfect form. Everything that he does to shoot the basketball is absolutely 100% perfect. Listen, kids or others that have kids, if you're looking for like videotape on how to teach your kids to shoot, Klay Thompson, like just watch what he does. He makes a perfect elbow. Everything is so structured with his jump shot, Chad. I think that's why, if he is going to be, anywhere close to what he was in the past before those big injuries, that'll be the reason why, because his fundamentals are so solid. They are just so solid.
Former Washington State Cougar, Klay Thompson, as a matter of fact, which is, not just to throw that out there. And then it looked like Draymond Green and Stewart got into a little bit of a scuffle.
They did.
I didn't actually, I just saw the headline. I didn't really read it and I didn't see it, but was it of significance? Are we talking about losing game time here? Or?
Nope. Losing game time, yes, because so Isaiah Stewart, Draymond Green get a little tangled up under the basket after a play, and there wasn't any pushing, but just kind of like they grabbed each other for a second. Well, referees issued a double technical, Stewart and Green. Fair enough. That seems to be the case. Draymond already had a tech, so he got ejected. That's one thing I don't think the NBA should be able to do. Like, if you get ejected on the merits of your own technical foul, fine. But if they're just calling double techs because they're like saying to you in school, okay, now both kids go to the corner, even though it was not one kid's fault, but you're just doing that because you're a teacher or something, right? If you're going to do that to the players, the NBA players, sure, give them a double technical. Maybe it goes to their points, on their total technicals that, if you reach over a certain amount of technicals in the NBA, you do get suspended a game. But I don't think that you should be ejected on a double technical. That felt like a little bit of weak sauce, and that really did change a lot of the momentum there for Golden State too.
Draymond Green always has at least one technical in his hip pocket, even before the game starts.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that's just who he is.
Oh, he might hit.
He never really gets
just to make sure of it.
Yeah, and he doesn't really get the benefit of the doubt a lot of times.
Not much.
You know what I mean? There again, that's the only bad thing about it's like Grayson Allen. When you have that reputation, you're not going to necessarily get those close calls going in your favor. They're always going to lean the other way because of the fact that everybody kind of knows what kind of player you are. But at the same time, I've argued this many times on this show. And again, I always go back to old school stuff because that's where I came from. You know, you need a guy like that. You need a Danny Ainge. You need a Draymond Green, in my opinion. You need a Grayson Allen on your team. You need a guy that kind of is an agitator, a guy that's willing to do the dirty work, a guy that's willing to say, talk trash, whatever it takes to give yourself a little bit of an edge. And I think both players, whether it's Grayson Allen or Draymond Green, do a great job of that in different ways. I don't think Grayson Allen's quite the same as Draymond Green is when it comes to, getting under people's skin, but they're both effective.
Both effective. And I don't think he ratchets up to the level of Draymond because Draymond's done it at great levels, right? In the NBA finals, he's got 4 chips. But to your point, that's exactly what every team needs. And I do think that while Grayson Allen is a decent substitute he isn't quite what PJ Tucker was for the Milwaukee Bucks. PJ Tucker was a half a year rental that the Milwaukee Bucks got and then ended up making an incredible impact on that team as they won the NBA championship. And then we saw PJ go down to Miami, which seems like, good fit. There is something to that. And I've always liked players like that. And I know that there were times in which the NBA got really, really very cautious about kinds of violence that would happen on court scuffles. The Malice at the Palace didn't do anybody any favors, right? Like that was not quite as bad as that DeMar Hamlin thing for the league, but it was close. I mean, those are the kinds of scenes that shock people away from going to games, that scare parents away from wanting to put their kids into sports, things like that. But I think that now the NBA has, with the influx of European and international players, Chad, I think the NBA has gotten back to a little bit of that kind of basketball because you start taking these kids out of Serbia. Well, they're not coming over here to pussyfoot around. Like, they'll trip you just because, right? I mean, they're getting coffee cans and cigarettes thrown at them like on a nightly basis playing pro ball.
Morning Wood, this is a good one. Grayson Allen is cheaper than toilet paper at the dollar store. That is that's a good one. I have never heard that before. Yeah. Nice. Morning Wood, he's got some good ones this morning.
And I apologize to Morning Wood because he was sending me some texts last night through the game, man. I didn't have my phone around me. I was not looking at my phone. I was upstairs. It was downstairs here in the studio, and I didn't see him. But yeah, he was having a lot of fun last night with Grayson Allen. He sure was.
Let's see here. This is interesting. Rick Hamilton's talking about. So the accidental contact by Allen is worth a second free throw in addition to a made 3-pointer plus the ball. They scored another basket. Yeah, that was that whole thing, because I'm watching this going, well, this is going to be wrapped up. This is going to be over. This is going to be over in regulation. Milwaukee's got this in the bag. And then this incident happens, and you're like, what the French fries going on? Gary Trent Jr. hits that three. It was an interesting, I don't know, 30 seconds or however long that was, a minute and a half of basketball, how that all turned out. And then the fact, obviously, that Milwaukee was able to pull it off in overtime, which I think you said it best, was a little bit of luck there.
Yeah, there's a little bit of luck in the bailout assist from Giannis and the Grayson shot. I mean, that's why they have Grayson. But listen, sometimes you need a little luck. And to your point, Rick, that play was it was so monumental last night. And this is what the Bucks, are going to be up against pretty much each and every night. When you win a championship, Chad, and the Celtics and the Lakers and all the teams that won championships found this out, the Bulls, the Rockets, you've got a big old target on your back every night, because it doesn't matter if a team is bad or good. If they beat you and it's on the second game of a back-to-back on a Wednesday night in the middle of the NBA season, that's a big deal for them. Like, at the end of the year, they're not in the playoffs. They're like, well, at least we beat these 5 good teams, right? That's something that you have to take into consideration as a player. So they're always going to be tested. I do think that the injury concerns for Middleton and Holiday, which I don't know what Holiday's overall injury concerns, would worry me if this was like March or April. Like, seeing these guys that much time, it would worry me then. Right now, I'm not overly concerned with that.
Yeah, Rick, I agree with you on this. Portis how was that not a foul?
I don't know.
How do you, I mean, he was clearly pushed out of bounds.
Clearly.
And I mean, he did a bit of acting, which they all do. All players do that because you want to get the call. I don't know how he didn't get that call. I was yelling at the TV. I don't normally yell at the TV. I'm like, I'm like, WTF on that, man.
See, and this is where, you've got somebody in the background who's got their little notepad script writing. Okay, Bobby Portis,
right?
Foul, and the referee's Tim Donaghy's getting it down here from his earpiece, and he's like, I see, no foul. The spread was what? In-game betting at BetUS
Right.
has gone to this money. By the way, while we've just got this little interesting segue here, BetUS is the official sports betting partner here of the show. If you want to make bets legally, do them in-game. Bet on NFL, college football, NBA basketball, WNBA, Chinese basketball, you name it, they've got it, as well as a full casino function. Sign up using the promo code Carnival. Go to betus.com.pa. Sign up, use the promo code Carnival. When you make your first deposit, and this is the big ticket here, it'll ask you right there. There's a 2-step process. How much you're going to put in? Do you have a promo code? Enter the word Carnival. You will get 125% free money in your sports book wallet, and you can use that to bet on Bucks games. The Bucks next play on Friday, so they get a night off tonight. They're not going to do a triple header. They'll be against Charlotte back in Milwaukee. The Bucks did beat the Hornets the last time they played. Bobby Portis, who we just talked about, scored 20 points in the win there for the Bucks. So we'll look forward to seeing that. Charlotte's a good, dangerous team, though. I mean, they don't play defense. Well, those fuckers can score. Right? Even their coach is like, nobody on my team wants to play defense. He says nobody tries. They just go out there and actually don't try. So hopefully Milwaukee can get some good buckets and win the game. But betus.com, the official sports betting partner of the program. And you guys are doing a really good job. You're taking some money from sports books. They hate it. I love it. You keep going. Use the promo code Carnival. And then coming up tonight at 5 o'clock, Chad, on ESPN 105.5, I will be the guest of John Papadopoulos on ESPN's The Sports Lead. I'm their weekly sports betting analyst now on Thursdays at 5 p.m. And we'll be covering my play of the week. I'll talk about that a little bit later before we go home today. But I'll be talking about the play of the week. I'll be breaking down the Packers and the Lions. I want to cover this Bills and the Patriots game and a number of other matchups in the NFL this weekend that do have significant implications for the postseason. One thing I do want to do as well before we go to break, Hunter Baumgardt, as mentioned, will be joining us at 8:30. Chad, is reintroduce the poll question for those that are just jumping aboard at the Sports Carney on Twitter, our Facebook group page, getting a lot of votes on this, as you might anticipate. If, in fact, the Bills can muster enough in the wake of that tragedy, and Damar Hamlin is still in critical condition. There are signs of improvement, but he is still in critical condition. If the Bills can muster enough in the wake of that tragedy, get back on the field Sunday versus the Patriots, do you think they're going to be able to cover a very robust 7.5-point spread? The ways that you can answer, very simple, yes or no, Chad. The no vote right now, 54.5% yes, 45.5% on our Twitter feed. Our Facebook group page, 6634, saying no. So right now, no. I tend to agree with this right now. I will reverse course if we get a thumbs up from Damar Hamlin at any time over the next couple of days.
Yeah.
If we get a thumbs up for Damar Hamlin, the Bills are going to steamroll the fucking Patriots. They will win by 105 points. It'll be the largest blowout in NFL history because they will feel like they are playing with new life. If, in fact, Damar Hamlin does not make any sort of rebound, I've got concerns that the Bills are going to be able to focus enough to be on the field. Zach Taylor, I saw his press conference yesterday, and he actually said the way that this all broke down with Sean McDermott was McDermott came up to him and said, I got to be with my guy at the hospital. I can't coach this game right now. Yeah. So he gave Coach direct credit, much like Coach Matt Janis did when he joined us on Tuesday. Chad said those guys made the right call. Well, according to Zach Taylor, Bengals head coach, it was Sean McDermott that says, I can't coach right now. I've got it. Way to be a human being. Way to be a human being and not just succumb to whatever would be considered consensus pressure by the league bosses and the television. Fuck ESPN and fuck NFL. Go do your thing.
No, I think that he made the right call there, and obviously Zach Taylor backed him up on that, and they both came to that decision, and which was the right decision. Yeah, and going back to the game, you know, as a sports book guy, as a handicapper, handicapping that with all these question marks is very difficult because I agree with you. The 7.5 points doesn't seem like enough. You know, if Damar Hamlin rallies back and we hear good news, which is what we're all hoping for. But if we don't, I would imagine that's going to be weighing on a lot of these players' minds, and it could affect, you know, their play on the field. So that's almost a game you want to stay away from until you get more information. And I know it seems kind of callous to even be talking about it, but again, the wheel keeps turning. We keep moving forward. It's definitely something to think about if you are going to place that bet. If you are looking at that game, is really the mental side of it, the emotional side of the Bills and where they're going to be come game time, which again is unclear at this point, which puts us all in a kind of an interesting situation because you're obviously pulling for Damar Hamlin to get better. And if that happens, I agree with you. They're going to win by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, if he gets the little thumbs up or if any sign of progress comes in significant ways where he's moved from critical to stable conditions, something along those lines, even if it's critical but stable, if this man regains his consciousness and is able to be with us in this world, I think Buffalo absolutely annihilates the Patriots. However, the line did open at -10 for Buffalo. It's now moved down to -7 in some shops. But again, go to betus.com. If you haven't done so already, sign up using the promo code Carnival to score that free 125% deposit match. When we come back, joining us from Milwaukee, you know him, you love him, Hunter Baumgardt is going to be with us here on the Sports Carnival. Really excited. Stay tuned. Back in just about 60 seconds.
Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate.
The official mortgage team of the Sports Carnival is the Midwest mortgage team of Land Home Financial, my good buddies Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi. Listen, we all know the mortgage industry is in a bit of an upheaval right now, and that's why it's more important than ever to go to a couple of guys that you can trust, a local operation right here in La Crosse. That is the Midwest mortgage team. Again, Michael Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi of Land Home Financial. Don't make a mistake with your mortgage needs. Go to the official mortgage provider of the Sports Carnival, the Midwest mortgage team, Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi.
Back to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Never try to explain yourself to idiots. Of course, unless you're the dumbass whisperer, then go ahead. Now here's your host, Dave Kearney.
I actually think you mean the Alexander Dumas whisperer. You just misread the quote. Yes. That's all. We're very highbrow here on the Sports Carnival. So it was the Alexander Dumas whisperer.
Three Musketeers author?
Indeed. Look at you. Like that stuff. All right. Thanks for joining us this morning. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn, and everywhere you can get your podcast. This is the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios, coast to coast, powered by the Recovery Room. Official real estate partner of the show, Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, Midwest Mortgage Team. The guys over at the Midwest Mortgage Team, Mike Garcia, Todd Vercruzzi, the official mortgage providers of the program. And joining us on the Sports Carnival this morning, somebody who has got a lot of ties here to La Crosse. He was a UWL graduate. He is a UWL graduate. His father is probably up there on top of Granddad Bluff right now trying to give us the latest updated weather reports. This is none other than Hunter Baumgardt from 97.3's The Game in Milwaukee. Dude, I'm so excited to have you back on the show. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be back and looking forward to this. Yeah, he's probably up there on the bluff right now. We've got the good news is it's been, especially here in Milwaukee, I didn't realize how much warmer it can be here than even in La Crosse, especially in Minneapolis. Minneapolis, they've gotten a ton of snow in the last couple of days, and we've gotten just dusting. So that's been welcomed by me since I was in Tomahawk enduring highs of 0 for most of the winter last winter. So the warm weather is nice.
Yeah, I bet. And you know, it's funny, we think of Milwaukee as, again, it's a cold weather city in the country for sure, but for Wisconsinites, it's like, oh, that's down south. That's down south. Yeah, you betcha. You're getting a couple of degrees, a couple of bonus degrees sprinkled in there. Hunter, did I see recently on your social media feeds that you actually made a return recently to Tomahawk? You and the fellas did a broadcast up there at your old station?
We did it in actually in Rhinelander, which is about 25 minutes northeast of Tomahawk. They have a huge dome in Rhinelander. It was built right before I got there. And it's like an inflatable dome, basically. It's the size of a football field plus a couple tennis courts. It's massive. It's unreal. It's really cool. They play baseball in there. They play tennis, they've done wrestling, they've done a whole bunch of sports in there because it's, there's snow on the ground for so long up there that they can do things inside, and then they use it as a community as well. Really cool spot up there. If you ever get up north and just to check it out, it's just massive. So it's cool. I think a lot of communities would love to have one of those.
Yeah. I mean, Chad, your community, does it have a big dome like that?
Yeah, we have the Sun Dome, but it's not inflatable.
That's too bad. The Sun Dome is where the Yakima Sun Kings, Hunter, used to play CBA basketball. And of course,
champs.
They were CBA champs. Listen, lacrosse has got a rich CBA tradition and a rich CBA history. And heck, it was Mark Davis, one of the stars of the Catbirds, who parented Johnny Davis, who is now an up-and-comer for the Washington Wizards top 10 NBA draft pick.
Old Catbirds.
Old Catbirds, man. Hey, they knew how to catch things.
The CBA really knew how to name teams, didn't they?
They did.
Can you come up with something better than Catbirds? That's awesome.
I don't know. I like it. I thought it was great. The logos. I've told you guys this before. I nerded out on CBA basketball when I was 13. Like the first sports league that I ever wrote to and got communication back from was the CBA, because I wanted to know player salaries. I wanted to know how the draft worked. I wanted to know like all of this stuff. There were a lot of questions that I had about the CBA. I was fascinated.
Mine was roller derby. But, we all pick our sports and we all want to communicate. They did write back to me. So I understood what a beaver dam was. It was the women's roller derby. So I know exactly where you're coming from, buddy.
I love it, man. Well, listen, I want to transition our buddy Hunter here while we've got him from 97.3's The Game in Milwaukee to something that we kind of just talked about tangentially anyways, Wisconsin basketball. So Johnny Davis, his dad played here in lacrosse. Johnny goes to Wisconsin where his brother Jordan is still playing right now. Johnny gets drafted top 10, and you now cover, Hunter, at least in post-game coverage. You cover the Badgers men's basketball team. You're doing this post-game show. Give me your take on this year's team. I think they're a lot better than I anticipated. I know that they got a narrow victory a couple of days back over, I think it was Western Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. But give us your overall takeaways on this year's Badgers men's hoops team. What do you think about their standing in the AP top 25 ranking? How much noise can they really make? Big Ten play, really gets kicked up soon here. I mean, it'll start, I think, tipping off in the next, few days.
Yeah, they're the first. Well, technically it's their third. They play 2 Big Ten games in December, and then they play. Then they really get in earnest. Started against Minnesota 2 nights ago, and they got the win. They're 3-0 in the Big Ten for the first time since 2014, 2015, and we remember what happened in that special season for Decker and Kaminsky and that whole bunch. So I think they are. I agree with you. They're better. Obviously, they're picked 9th or 10th in the conference, just like last year when they went on to win the Big Ten. But last year, they had Johnny Davis, they had Brad Davison. That was 48% of their scoring, and they lost that coming into this year. So it was a lot of, okay, who is going to fill those roles? Who's going to step up? Obviously, you have Chucky Hepburn. He's just a sophomore. Tyler Wall is obviously going to be a leader of your team. Stephen Krall is a guy who's really stepped up the last couple of games, especially against Western Michigan. He had 20 in the second half. He had 13 in the second half against Minnesota. I think they've played so many close games. It's almost every game is within 5 points. It's kind of wild, but they're so used to that now, and they're honestly used to it since last year. They did the same thing. So that's just kind of their style of basketball. We know that with the Badgers. It's lower scoring. It's a lot of defense. They don't turn the ball over a lot. So that's the fun part about this team is they're in a lot of exciting games, and they're playing above expectations. I think there's a real chance they could go on a run in March. I think it's tough, though, because right now we're in the exact half point of the season. I don't know. They played a lot of non-conference games. They played Lehigh. They played Western Michigan. They played, UW Green Bay. There's a lot of teams that aren't super good that they played. And so getting into this Big Ten schedule is going to be big. They play Illinois on Saturday. They play Michigan State coming up. Illinois has disappointed. They're 0-3 in the Big Ten right now. So see if the Badgers can go down to Champaign and get that win. But I really like how this team has played so far, and the credit. I mean, Greg Gard has just it's just the credit continues to go to him, because that guy, what he's able to do with the talent, it's impressive year in and year out, really.
Well, and just briefly going back to some of their wins, because I know you said they played, a lot of non-conference games. That's true. So they've beaten Stanford by 10 points, which is a Pac-12 team. They're always going to have a lot of talent. They lost to Kansas on Thanksgiving by a single point, 69-68. Yeah. They beat USC the following weekend, I want to say 64-59. They beat a very, very good Marquette team. Like, Marquette plays in a tough Big East, and I'm sure you guys talk a lot of Marquette hoops out there in Milwaukee. We don't obviously talk about them as much out here, but I like what this Marquette team is about, and they beat them by 380-77. They beat Iowa, who's, again, a really well-coached, really tough team, 78-75. I see a lot of I see a lot of upside in this team. And to be fair, when we saw the roster being, sort of shown to us here in sports media, I wasn't feeling it, man. I wasn't feeling the confidence. But this team, again, maybe it's Greg Gard's excellent coaching. Some guys are overperforming. I think Jordan Davis is really developed. He's not what Johnny Davis is, and that's not going to be something that will confuse him for. But he's developed more of an offensive game, which is helping the Badgers. And if he can stay consistent with his defense and rebounding, I think they can be a problem for teams in the tournament because, again, the unique nature of the tournament in and of itself lends itself perfectly to the kind of basketball the Badgers play, right? They take control of the game, they take the air out of the ball a bit, and that can frustrate teams that like to get up and down and make some highlight plays.
Well, you do wonder how far they would have went last year if Chucky doesn't go down against Iowa State at Fiserv Forum in the second round. Very much. If he's healthy, if this team is healthy coming down the stretch, Tyler Wall got hurt a couple nights ago. It sounds like he's going to be okay, though, for Illinois this weekend. So I agree with you, and you're right that you go down that list of wins. And when I meant, we don't know because they haven't, played the Big Ten schedule. I think it's just tough to know halfway through the season who's going to make a run, who's not. North Carolina was ranked first to start the season, and look where they've gone. So it's in college basketball, the tournament is inherently random. But you're right. I mean, all those wins and then the Kansas win, if Kansas doesn't make a last-second shot against them to beat them in that battle for Atlantis, this Badger team's a top 10 team right now. And so that's how close this team is to talking about a 1 or a 2 seed in the tournament. Like that's where this team is at right now. And I think the Big Ten schedule will play itself out, and we'll see how they do. But it's fun to have this team. And again, year in, year out, they've been competitive. Greg Gard has kept this team afloat, more than afloat, really. So last year was the Big Ten Coach of the Year. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it really is. This Saturday's game, by the way, 12:30 p.m. ESPN2 has got coverage. I'm assuming that you are going to be on post-game coverage, 97.3 The Game afterwards. Is that correct? Where do you guys do that from?
Yeah, so we're on 97.3 The Game in Milwaukee and then 1310 WIBA in Madison. So you can listen to us, all the way from Milwaukee, probably to the Dells with how far 1310 carries. And then obviously everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
Gotcha. So the iHeartRadio app, which, by the way, the Sports Carnival is available to be downloaded at iHeartRadio. So go ahead and get that app loaded on your phone, and you can listen to Hunter and the guys. All right, let me change gears with you, Hunter. I want to talk some football, and before we get into the Packers-Lions here, which I'm excited to get your take on, I just want to ask your I want to ask your opinion on this morning's poll question, because Damar Hamlin and the situation the Buffalo Bills are dealing with is completely unprecedented, and we're wearing that term out, but it is true. If, in fact, the Bills can muster enough to get back on the field on Sunday and take on the Patriots, do you think they can cover the 7-point spread? It was 7.5 when we opened up this morning's program. Where are you at with that?
It's tough because I don't know how there's two thoughts. I heard you say right before I came on that there's they could come out and just absolutely blow the doors off the Patriots because they're going to have so much, there's this built up anticipation. They're going to be wanting to play for their guy and everything like that. I think it does somewhat depend on the condition of Hamlin. Obviously, we don't know. We've heard positive things, and that's awesome. And, thoughts and prayers continue to be with him and his family. I think 7.5. Like you said, it's tough to say. I think they can, and I think that's partly because of the Patriots. I just don't believe that the Patriots are this. They're not anywhere close to the Bills, really, to be honest with you. And so, if the Bills have something to play for, obviously they will. They're going to have more than just a seeding to play for. They've only played a quarter in the last couple of weeks. So they're going to be obviously rested physically, mentally. Obviously, it's taken a toll, but I think so. I think they can cover that.
Okay, and then finally, Hunter, let me get your thoughts. Packers-Lions. Packers have to win. We know that. There's only one way this thing goes. They beat the Lions. They're in the playoffs. The Lions have to see a Seattle loss and a win over the Packers to get into the postseason. Packers are favorites right now by 4.5 points. What do you think?
Man, these two teams are so I don't know about. I think the Packers, at least, are very different than they were when this team played on whatever it was, November 6th or so, when they lost 15-9. I was going back. Rodgers had 3 interceptions. One of them was that pass to David Bakhtiari, which got intercepted by Aiden Hutchinson. There was just some weird stuff in that game. A lot of drives inside the red zone that didn't end up in points. And there's a reason for that. And Rodgers had his most passing yards in a game this season against the Lions. That's because you look at this Lions team, they're 29th in points allowed. They're 32nd in yards allowed per game, 32nd in yards allowed per play. They're 30th in yards per rush. I mean, this defense is maybe bottom of the league when it comes to the Detroit Lions. So with the way the Packers put 41 on the Vikings, and their defense isn't good either, but they did what they needed to do and they put up 41. With the way this offense is now finally clicking with Watson healthy and Doubs healthy, and they've got their full complement of weapons with Dillon and Jones. This is where this team should put up they should put up 30 or more points against the Lions. And I don't know, with the way the defense is now playing and the way the Packers defense is forcing turnovers, I don't know if the Lions can necessarily do that. I mean, they only scored 15 on the Packers back, and the Lions offense is playing better, and Jamal Williams is having a great year and all of that. But I just don't think this Lions offense has the weapons that the Packers offense does. And Aaron Rodgers, he's 3-0 in these win or go home games in the last game of the season where they need to get into the playoffs. He beat the Bears in 2010. They went to the Super Bowl, beat the Bears in 2013. They ended up losing to the 49ers. And then 2016 was the run the table year. They go to Detroit. They win on Sunday Night Football. Then they lose to the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC title game. I think he's more than ready for this game. He finally gets one of these at Lambeau. We said that last year in the playoffs, but he finally gets one of these at Lambeau, and I think they definitely win this one.
You know, I largely agree with all of what you said. The only thing that concerns me now is the emerging pass rush of the Detroit Lions. We need to see the Packers offensive line really hold up there, because if that's something that the Packers start to leak on, then we could see some problems. Hunter, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on this morning. It's always great to see you. It's always great to hear you. I know you've got a big day coming up. Again, 97.3 The Game out of Milwaukee, but download the iHeartRadio app. If you're here in La Crosse, download the iHeartRadio app. You can get the Sports Carnival there. You can pick up all of what Hunter and the guys are doing. Have a great rest of your day, man. We'll follow you on your social feeds. Again, that's super easy, at Hunter B on air. You make all of this so easy for us. We appreciate you.
Well, I just try to, hey, I want to make your life easier. That's my goal. So I'm glad I can do that. But thanks for having me, Dave. Great to see you. Talk to you soon.
Okay, see you later. We'll be back here on the Sports Carnival in just about 30 seconds.
Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices.
Hey, it's time for koozies, hot tubs, and jacuzzis with a big announcement for the next 2 months. When you buy a hot tub or jacuzzi, you get a pair of tickets for the Big Coozes Booze Cruise. Headed to Cabo. So sop that mop and then come pop a top with me, the Coos.
Sop that mop is a slang term for wet bush.
Back to the action live from the Trauma Center studios. This is the Sports Carnival. I love this Arthur C. Clarke quote. He says, I don't believe in astrology. I'm a Sagittarius, and we're skeptical. Here's your host, Dave Carney.
Oh, man. You know, it's funny. I was just going through all these books in the basement, right? And as I'm piling, books into, to boxes because I'm going to donate them, I come across Arthur C. Clarke's Childhood's End. And I just... Man, I have a hard time almost donating that book, but I know that I won't read it again. Did you ever watch the Childhood's End Amazon Prime series that they made? It was like a 5 or a 4-part, just a mini series. So it didn't go into seasons, obviously. Did you ever watch that?
I did not. I didn't even know it existed.
It does. And I would highly recommend that you watch it. It's fantastic because Arthur C. Clarke's book was not that long, so it translates pretty good to the screen. What is Foreman talking about? Jeremy P2 Foreman, why does Hunter look old enough to be my dad already? It's because, Hunter's in Milwaukee. He had some internet issues. We could hear him great. We couldn't see him great. I think that was just a sketchy internet. Thanks, Foreman.
Yeah. He did look older. Yeah, he does look old enough to be your dad.
In that particular moment. Joe V's checking in here. Joe V is a Wisconsin alumni as well. He said, Kid Connor Eastigan reminds me a bit of Matt Thomas, pure shooter. Yeah, so Connor East again for the Badgers does remind me a bit of Matt Thomas. Matt Thomas played at Iowa State. Matt Thomas plays for I want to say he's still on the Bulls roster right now, but he was a local high school product from Onalaska High School. We've talked to his coach, Craig Cole, here on the show. And Matt Thomas was nothing but a pure shooter. I mean, this guy he's pure buckets. So I think that's a fairly good comp, Joe. I kind of like that. I really do.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, so I can't comment.
Well, Matt Thomas, we know who he is here. Started, like I say, college star. He got his first real shot in the NBA. It was that year that Lonzo Ball was a rookie, right? So he was a rookie with Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, the Lakers Summer League. He rocked the entire world. Lonzo looked like trash, like he couldn't hit the backside of the fucking basket, just was turning the ball over all the time. Matt Thomas was slinging it. They win that Summer League championship. Magic Johnson was like all over this kid. The Lakers, for whatever reason, didn't sign him. He bounces over to Europe, plays a season and a half of Spanish C and then A-League basketball, then gets a Raptors contract. Raptors ended up trading him to the Jazz. Jazz ended up moving him to the Bulls, and there we go. So now you've got the Matt Thomas bibliography in your mind.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's like 6 degrees of Matt Thomas. Gotcha.
That's right. All right, I want to see what this is all about because Matty Ice has been all over the place recently. Says news of the weird. A 3'4" Irishman posing as a leprechaun has been arrested for extorting sexual favors from 26 women in exchange for a fictional pot of gold at the end. That's just the Deshaun Watson court complaint, man. That's all that is. It was one of the 26 women that Deshaun Watson got at. He was trying to tell him it was his little leprechaun. It was his lucky charm. That's all you got right there, man.
Yeah, or it's what's his name from Arizona? Your buddy Kyle. It's Kyler Murray. That's about Kyler Murray.
Dude, Kyler Murray, I didn't want to be this dude before he got drafted, but I was this dude. I said, really talented. I thought, really, really talented. He's too small, man. Like, I don't know if he can play the NFL football game for more than a couple of seasons, right? Kyler Murray is basically broken now. And I did catch a news note this morning, speaking of Kyler Murray, that he may miss now the start at least of the 2023 season with that injury. They may end up firing that coach, right, who hates Kyler Murray now, apparently, according to multiple reports. That is going to be a toxic job. J.J. Watt's retiring, and I don't know what's really going to be left there. I like this from Foreman. What don't you have in your man cave? He says he's got Matt Thomas's Spanish championship jersey in his man cave. That's fucking awesome. That's a pretty neat piece of merch there, man.
Yeah, Rob Dog says Kyle Murray just wants to play Call of Duty. I didn't know that. He was into Call of Duty.
Big Call of Duty player. Big Call of Duty player. It's kind of like when David Price for Boston got injured on his thumb.
I think he's got a bit of the Doug Flutie problem. Right. Doug Flutie had this issue when he played. He was effective at times. He had that nice little stretch, I want to say, with Buffalo.
Yep.
He did amazing in the Canadian Football League. He won, I think, 6 Grey Cups or 5 Grey Cups or something like that.
Did Flutie win? I know Warren Moon did. I don't know.
No, he did.
Okay.
Flutie, he racked up some Grey Cups. But, that was his issue. It wasn't it wasn't his arm. It was his height.
Yeah.
And obviously they grow him a little bit bigger in the NFL than they do in Canada. He ruled that league. He did really, really well there. And again, he had stints in the NFL where he did well, but that's kind of where I think Kyler has a bit of an issue sometimes. And unless he can get out of the pocket, which anymore, if you can't stand in the pocket, I mean, you have to be able to do both nowadays, right? Ideally, you have to be able to get out of the pocket and be able to make some, RPO decisions and throws on the run and things like that. But you also have to be able to, at some point, be able to stand in the pocket. As we've seen Jalen Hurts do a really good job of both, right? There's a guy that does both, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, these guys that can, be very creative when they're on the run and do all these different things. But ideally, when they're in the pocket and they've got good protection, they can make those throws and make those reads where when you're that short, it's sometimes hard to see over your own guys and then see the linebackers, and it makes it tough.
That's what Jeff Garcia used to tell me when he played in the United Football League, that because I asked him one time, I was watching Jeff warm up as the Nighthawks were taking on the Vegas Locos. And I asked him, how do you do it, man? Because I'm looking at the linemen, right? And they're monsters. I mean, Chad, those guys, that's why that league didn't last. They overpaid really good NFL players to go play in a minor league, right? But these dudes were monsters. And I asked him, like, how do you do that? He's like, half the time I can't see it. I have to take a 3 or a 5 step drop. I know what play we're doing, and it's a timing thing. It's a count. 1, 2, 3, boom, let it go. And if it's there, it's there. If it's not, that's when it's like, dude, that guy made a horrible pass, man. Like, that's a really bad interception. Did you see him? No, I didn't. I went back 1, 2, 3. You throw. It's like that kind of muscle memory. And those guys, obviously, that do that 1 of 32 that start at any time now, they're that good that they can do that. But yeah, he said he can't see over the top of them sometime. Something else I think about with the running quarterback, because I was watching that, the Packer game, obviously, with aplomb this last Sunday as they destroyed the Vikings. The perfect kind of quarterback is kind of the Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers kind of. You can run when you need to, right? Rodgers pump faking and runs in for a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes, the same thing. Patrick Mahomes is never going to confuse anybody for Michael fucking Vick or Lamar Jackson or any of that. Can he move? Yeah, he can. Alex Smith was a much better mobile quarterback than people thought he was. Like, he was able to really move. And we saw that in Kansas City more than San Francisco. But it almost struck me that when I was watching Rodgers do that, that's what you need to be able to do to last 15 years. The Cam Newtons, look at where Lamar Jackson's at right now, on the shelf. Jalen Hurts, by the way, speaking of how good he is, he's out, and we don't know how long it will be until he gets back. The track record for these dudes, these kinds of running quarterbacks staying healthy, is just not there. It really isn't. Scrambling, yes, Fran Tarkington had an incredible career, really long. He was the first true scrambling quarterback. Russell Wilson, before this Denver debacle, he was awesome as a scrambling quarterback. But I agree, you've got to have a little bit of both, but you can't be just a runner, because if you are, you're going to get massacred, because once you're a runner on the football field, you're not a fucking quarterback anymore. Now we get to go hit you. Now we get to play with you a little bit. And especially if you're a defensive lineman looking to get at a quarterback, you're like, take off.
Speaking of running quarterbacks, Rob Dawes asked if the Bears get the number 1 pick, what do they do with it? And
trade it.
Justin Fields, being probably the best running quarterback in the league right now, and setting all kinds of records. Is that sustainable? I don't think so. Yeah, I think we talked about this before. If you're not going to get if you don't have the right pick at the number 1, and if it's not, you want one lineman, right? Because they need offensive linemen. Right?
That's what they need. Yep.
Trade the pick and get 3 or 4 more picks and be able to, stock the cupboard even a little bit better than just a one-off. I mean, it'd be great to have a number 1 overall, left tackle, or,
That's not in the cards this year. It's going to be that kid, Bryce Young from Alabama. He's going to be the first overall pick. People are going to go clamor for.
Well, what I'm saying, if you're the needs of the Bears, so trade that off and be able to get 2 or 3 or 4 picks, down the line, where you're going to be able to get 3 or 4 guys to bolster your line, to help out Justin Fields.
Listen, if done correctly this offseason, and Packer fans will never believe this, and Bears fans probably won't believe this either, but if done correctly this offseason, the Chicago Bears can put themselves in a position to challenge for the NFC North next year. They've got $120 million from last check, $120 million of available cap space this upcoming season. Chicago's a free agent destination. Players like to go play there. They'll be able to sign some guys. I can't remember exactly how many picks they've got now. It's a lot, because when they traded Roquan Smith, they got some good picks.
Yeah,
so
they did.
Their own picks, and they trade back. Say they get the number 1. Okay, even if they're at 2, doesn't matter. They're in the running for 1 or 2. It'll be them or Houston. If they get 1 or 2, there's going to be a huge market for both of those picks, because there's 2 quarterbacks that'll go 1 and 2. You're right. You restock these cupboards, or load them up, maybe stock them for the first time, and watch the fuck out, because Justin Fields might not have a long career, right? Like, he might not be the Bears quarterback for 15 years, but if he's the Bears quarterback for 7, and 7 of those years are used with half of it being him on his rookie contract, and they're piling in the dough to go get these guys, because they can then go look at offensive tackles on the market. They can overpay for somebody if they have to get them on. I don't know, man. It's a scary prospect when you start giving teams in Chicago a lot of money and a lot of draft picks.
As you said, I think you said it right, and we've talked about this before. If they do it right, Justin Fields has the potential of being the MVP of this league. If he gets the right help around him, if he gets guys to throw to, and he gets some protection around him, and he does his thing, look out. He could have an amazing. I mean, he's already had think about how crappy the team is and how shitty the team has done, and look how great of a year he's had this year.
Well, I look at Justin Fields a lot like I would Cam Newton. And I think Cam was probably a better natural thrower than Justin Fields was, right? Cam Newton a little bit bigger than Justin Fields as well. But I look at that season for the Carolina Panthers. They went 15-1. They go to a Super Bowl. And, if it weren't for the great defense by the Denver Broncos and Von Miller just popping all over the place, they may have won that Super Bowl. So I tend to agree. It could be quite a thing. All right, before we're out of here, Preferred Insurance, the official insurance provider of the Sports Carnival, is there for your flood, your auto, your home, and your business insurance. Sean O'Neill, the O'Neill Law Firm, downtown La Crosse, is there for your family and your bankruptcy needs, criminal if needed as well. And, of course, Joe's Helping Hands Landscaping, hands-on help if you need snow removal, which I think you might. It's going to pile up. It was pretty snowy up here last night. Thanks to all of you for participating this morning. Thanks to Hunter Baumgardt, 97.3's The Game. Follow him on iHeartRadio. Chad, as always, you're the man. We'll talk to you boys and girls tomorrow morning, Friday, wrapping up shop for the week already. Wow.
Later.